principal. Hopeful that everybody's having a great March so far. It's always fun to get together for ping. I miss the days when we could do it in person. I think that was a little, more fun, but it's great to be able to do it here on the Zoom as well. So we have, I know we sent out a couple of agenda items, and I'll just kind of, a lot of them are probably relatively brief and more kind of informational items. And a couple of them are kind of calls for help, volunteer positions. I'll kind of roll through each of those real quick. So first thing that I know that was sent out was just an awareness. The district is now in negotiations with the teachers union. They're meeting next Friday to come up with a plan to potentially return more students to in-person instruction, expanding what we're doing now, with the intent of going as close to 5 days a week full-time as we possibly can get it. I think that the high school level, that'll be a little different. I don't know that we'll make a whole lot of changes to our current schedule just because of the nature of the beast. But the elementary schools will be going a lot more back to full instruction. We'll probably be expanding the number of kids we have in person here, with maybe some slight expansions of times and things like that. But all that's subject to negotiation next week. And I'll let you guys know as I find those things out. So they'll watch for my emails. But I know that that's been a big push by parents in the district. I know there's been a change.org petition that's been trying to get the district to consider going back to in-person instruction. So one of the things that I just wanted to really relay here is that the parents were heard, and a lot of those parent comments at the board meeting last month and on Facebook and on the change.org petition is really what the board is going back to and is using as the reason that they need to look for pushing towards a more like normal schedule for our schools. Anybody have any questions about that before I move forward? No, pretty self-explanatory. Again, I have no idea what the timeline would be. Negotiations might be quick, it might be extended, but I would be thinking that it's probably not going to be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But even that is subject to change. So I'll keep you guys informed by email as I find those things out. The other piece of information kind of coming from the district is that Superintendent David Jones has resigned. As yet, we don't really know where he's planning on going, but he is planning on staying through the end of the year. The board will be looking at the process in which they seek his successor. So I would be just to parents that's going to be a process that's going to kind of take a community. So be aware to as the board is looking for input on what the community wants in a superintendent. Please make yourselves available to help inform that decision. And I think that I'm hopeful that that we're able to find a great leader going forward, as good as David. And I have to be honest, when I heard the news, I teared up a little bit. I think David's done a great job. I think he's led us with a lot of integrity, and I think he really is a believer in the kinds of things that he preaches. And I think that that's important, that we get somebody that's just as earnest, that's just as honest, that's just as strong a leader as he is. So be aware that process will probably begin sometime relatively soon. So watch out for those emails from the district for the meetings and those kinds of things as they're scheduled. Another call for assistance, and can I share my screen, Todd?
Okay, you should be able to now.
Thank you. Okay. Always should. Here we go. Okay. So there is the process of a new regional health center being located near Bonsall that's going to be serving our community. And the purpose for this center is basically to assist our kids that are having issues with mental health and wellness. Um, as I'm sure all of you have lived this year, you know, there's a lot of kids that really have been stressed by COVID. I'm sure a lot of families have gone through a lot of changes over the course of the last 18 months. And so one of the things that they're asking as they're setting this up is a focus group for parents, and there's also going to be a focus group for basically high school kids as well, to really kind of get to the bottom of what our needs are in the community. So they're having those meetings on March 10th, 1 to 2, and then on March 12th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I'll go ahead and cut and paste those bit.ly links in the chat, and I'll give it to Todd to include also in his ping notes and put on the website. And really, as many parents as we can get to be there to talk about kind of what's affecting their kids. So really looking out for what kind of conditions have the greatest impact on health, on well-being. What are some social, emotional needs that are not being addressed by places in the local community? What are some things that would help improve health and sense of well-being for our kids? And what are some reasons that, you know, this might be a program that you engage in as parents and that you help your students engage in as students? So coming up with kind of those questions and being there to talk about it with those folks. They have a really good sort of plan, funding in place. They're moving forward very quickly. The hope is that they would have their center in place relatively soon over the course of the next couple months. And really it's just about, you know, kind of planning programming at this point. So I'll cut and paste this information here into chat. So you have it. And like I said, I'll also provide the flyer to Todd and he can send those out as he sees fit. Okay,
Thank you.
That's in the chat. Kind of going on the next little item there is graduation. We really don't know a whole lot more than we knew last month about whether graduation will be in person or we'll have some kind of a digital graduation again. However, given that the district is negotiating to bring more kids back to campus, I think that really and the situation on the ground, at least in the Bonsall community, is definitely improving as far as COVID goes. The likelihood that we're going to be able to have some kind of in-person graduation is increasing. And so we've really been talking about putting together a couple of different plans. And I know I've been working a lot with Crystal and Miss Erin to kind of plan a plan A, which would be kind of a more completely in-person sort of situation with some social distancing requirements. Another one that would be kind of a combination of a drive up and traditional in-person graduation with some digital components, I suppose. And then a third one that would be maybe just a little bit of stuff, kind of more like what we did last year, that we'll have some kind of drive up ceremony, but we'll also have a graduation that's broadcast and through Zoom. So we might come up with some combination of all those things for this year, since this is kind of another strange year. So I need help planning those possibilities. The graduation committee, parent committee, is scheduled for March 18th at, I have to figure out the time. March 18th at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5. We'll probably have 2 or 3 different meetings over the course of March and April to kind of really put those plans together. And as we learn more about the situation on the ground with COVID, we'll be able to move forward with a lot more. Also, reminder of our Adopt the Seniors fundraiser that continues to go on. Thank you for all of you that have already donated. We've already well into tier 2, actually looking at tier 3, I think, or very close to it. So we'll be able to provide quite a bit of things to our seniors to celebrate their successes. Let's keep that up. That the flyer or the link for that goes out on my Friday letters, so you can see that over the weekend in my letter that will go out this evening or tomorrow morning. And thank you, BEF, for helping us set up the digital link. That's definitely been helpful. And for those of you that want to provide actual money and don't like to do things via the internet, feel free to come into the office, put your money in an envelope, and hand it to Miss Kara. She can get it to Miss May and Miss Rojas, and Miss Rojas can make sure that you get your poster and all that good stuff relatively quickly. So so 2 options: either pay by link through BEF or provide in person, however is best for you. Kind of going back now and looking what else is on our agenda today.
2 things, update on LCAP and new CTE pathways.
Perfect. So be on the lookout over the course of the next week. The district will be sending out invitations for parents to provide information and provide data for LCAP needs. The LCAP is Local Control Accountability Plan, and basically it's all of the monies that come to the district are put into a little pot, and the district has to put together a plan every 3 years to spend that money in ways that are going to benefit the kids that we have the most. So with an eye towards the needs of the community, it's LCAPs can be very, very effective in changing the educational climate of district schools, in helping students that are struggling from low income families, from underrepresented populations, improve. But that's only true if the district has the best data possible to be able to make those plans. So Dr. Moore, who's our head of educational services, came around to each of the schools to talk to each of the staffs about what they think would be beneficial. And so we have that kind of piece of the puzzle. There will be a survey that goes out to students at some point, which will provide that piece of the puzzle. And there will be a couple of scheduled parent meetings. I think he's looking at doing 2 or 3 of them. One of them will probably be in person at the community center. One of them will be via Zoom. So keep an eye out for those flyers or those emails and attend. And remember, given that you are high school parents, that the high school has some very particular needs, and speak to those. But also, you have gone through the system, kind of where some of the kids have needed a little bit of help, K-8, and speak about those as well. So this is a good opportunity for you to really get your voice out there and really affect the next 3 years of the district's progress and growth. That's the LCAP piece. We're also working on kind of our piece of that in our school site council, which is the single plan for student achievement. And those things work best when the school plan for student achievement and the LCAP, when they mesh and they sort of work together. That way you're able to really focus several pools of money on the same goals. And so we'll be working on our single plan over the course of the next month or 2 at the high school. and they'll be working on the LCAP probably over the course of maybe the next 4 or 5 months at the district. And hopefully we'll be able to find the right goals that are going to move our kids forward. So any questions about that at this point? What that means, what anything? No? Okay. So next on our agenda is our new CTE pathways. And let me pull them up real quick because this is something I'm very excited about. Sorry, my computer tends to be very slow. Okay. So going into next year, we'll be looking at hiring a new CTE person. Those of you that have been with us a couple of years remember Liz LeBlond, and she was our CTE director, coordinator at the high school. And since she left, we've really haven't been able to develop that program as efficiently as we'd like to. So we're really looking at kind of coming into it with a two-tiered approach. So we're going to leverage our relationship with Palomar in order to create a couple of options for our kids. Hopefully very quickly. I believe that they will be, at least the first step of this will be in place in the fall, and if not by spring for sure, but hopefully by fall. And we're looking at a couple of different pathways. And so I'll kind of walk you through it a little bit. So one of those is the advanced manufacturing pathway. And you can see there that this would be the pathway that people that were interested in becoming like an electronic engineer, a mechanic, an industrial engineer, people that do repair, people that do transportation sort of industry, things that do machining, people that work in factories. So one of the components of these pathways is that there's several levels of abilities. So there'd be those kids that could go through these pathways over the course of 3 years, and they could get them a job immediately out of high school that pays $20, $25 an hour. Doing machining, working in factories, doing certain kinds of jobs. And then there would also be a pathway for those kids that want to go on to college and become engineers. They want to work in aerospace industry. They want to do that kind of stuff. And so one of the key components of this pathway is that we'd be working very closely with a new program through Palomar that in their machining technology department. And we would have some pieces on the high school, and there would be some pieces at Palomar. Some would be dual enrollment on our campus. Some would be done there. And over the course of a 3-year period, here's kind of a sample pathway option here for pathway 1. Kids on our campus would take a course, Introduction to Engineering and Manufacturing. And then in 11th grade, they would be taking a course that would help them with computer-aided manufacturing. They learned CAM, they'd learned all some of those kinds of stuff. And that'd probably be a dual enrollment program. And then as 12th graders, they would take an advanced manufacturing course, possibly on our campus, possibly at Palomar. And they'd be also taking some courses at Palomar through the Machining 191. And then that would provide them with the Master Associate Certificate, our Master CAM Associate Certificate and Programming Certificate. There would be quite a bit of interplay with local community, people that work in these kinds of fields. And there would be opportunity for an internship in that particular pathway. So that provides that's one option we're looking at. And then I'm switching over here. And our second pathway that we're planning on having in place in the fall is a computer science pathway. this is one of those industries that in San Diego County is growing extraordinarily fast. It's growing by 9% every single year. The ability to make more than $100,000 a year in pay is very, very prevalent. And again, it provides for multiple levels of sort of exit. So kids that going through the program, or even maybe taking just one or two courses, to learn some skills that would give them the ability to do things like some basic repairs on iPhones or Chromebooks. They could change screens, do that kind of stuff, and that would allow for, you know, kids that want to go work at the mall and kiosks or do those kinds of things. But then taking it to kind of that next level, the ones that go through the program, they could become a technician. They could work for different businesses, doing computer support work. Lots of options, computer support specialist, computer maintenance technology, a local area network administrator, network system and data communications, software technician. And then those next level of kids that want to go on to college, they could certainly work with software development. They could work as a software systems engineer, systems analyst, business analyst, web developer. I mean, there's lots of things they could do. The program that we're really planning on sort of pursuing would be computer science with an emphasis in video game development. I think that's kind of one of those, video game design. That's one of those things that would really capture kids' attentions. And kind of like when we were all kids, I think a lot of our friends probably said they wanted to be professional basketball players and that kind of stuff. Well, now kids want to be professional video game players. And this kind of provides for a pathway to take that maybe unrealistic plan and put it into a way that they can really learn a lot about computer science, about programming, and they can walk out of it with a certificate that can provide them with some pretty high paying jobs. Kind of taking alongside of this, we're also rolling out our esports program finally next year. COVID really put a damper on that, and I think I've shared with this group before that esports is one of the really growing fields of competition in high schools and colleges. All the colleges in California have esports teams. All the UCs and Cal States anyway. Maybe not all the private ones, but they all have esports teams. They're providing a lot of scholarships for folks that play esports, and it's a good way to really encourage those kids to become part of something that may not be the kids that play basketball, that play soccer, the kids that that their skill set is different. And it's one more kind of mechanism to kind of get kids connected to the school, and to one more team that I think that at Bonsall High School we can do very well. So we're looking at purchasing 8 kind of really good gaming computers and having a place kind of a game lab set up for that team for next year. And that'll be something that we'll be able to roll out. And even next year, it's also a CIF sponsored sport. So kids will be able to get certificate or get a letter, get the, I don't know what the little video game icon on it of some kind, but between those two programs, it will really sort of put our high school in a position where we're very, very focused on technology, on development, on modernization, on preparing kids for a very, very unpredictable 21st century. Because in both of those sectors, in both computer science and in advanced manufacturing, those sectors haven't been harmed at all by the COVID epidemic. And in fact, if anything, they've expanded. So providing kids with the skill set to really operate in those kind of high tech jobs, if you will, is gonna really sort of set our students apart. So that's kind of our two new career tech ed pathways that we're providing for next year. We're still going to be offering the digital digital visiting, digital document certificate that we've offered in the past. We probably are on track to have about 12 kids graduate with that certification. That's been it's been very difficult because Palomar, just like the rest of educational system, is fully online. And from everything I've heard, they're not even planning on returning to in-person in the fall. They're looking for like the spring or even the summer of next year to return to in-person, according to their most recent plan. So being aware that our dual enrollment program next year will probably be a distance learning dual enrollment program, unfortunately, and recognizing that that's not every kid's skill set. So, but I do think that with these two programs in place, working with those faculty, we'll have some hands-on experience. And I know the guys in advanced manufacturing are really looking forward to the relationship with the high school, since they're building their program now with Palomar. And they're looking for ways to really make a name for their program and connect. And I think that our kids are certainly capable of excelling in either of those choices. And both of those choices will be available at some point next year, like I said, hopefully in the fall, but for sure by the spring. And we'll have at least the very beginnings of those programs ready to go for kids when they return in September and October. Okay. Questions about any of that?
I have a quick question. Is there anything on our end that we can do to ensure that that starts in the fall instead of the spring, or is that more Palomar related or district related?
I think that that's something that as I know a lot of you give kind of updates to the board, or parent opinions to the board sometimes, and so really providing some comments that, hey, that this is something we're really excited about. I think that would help light a fire sometimes. I think we're really moving forward with the assumption that we're going to have everything in place for the fall. I think that some of the dual enrollment components with Palomar, we may not have in place for the fall, just because of the red tape of the two organizations that have a lot of red tape working together, unfortunately. And the program, and given the fact that Palomar is not planning on returning in the fall. So we might have some components of the program. We'll have the pieces that we can do in person. We'll have probably some beginnings of a dual enrollment program with them in the fall. But I think either of those programs are probably going to be better suited to in-person instruction, especially given that the advanced manufacturing involves a lot of kind of working with equipment. So that might be something that takes a little bit of time to really get into place, but my hope is that we'll be able to work through that. I'm actually meeting with Palomar. I actually met with them yesterday. I'm going to be meeting with them again next week a couple of times. So the deans of those programs are hopeful that we can get it on in the fall. Some of the folks that work through dual enrollment are a little more concerned about being able to get all the approvals done. So that's kind of where we are on that. Okay. Any other thoughts? Oh, and I'd like to express thank you to BEF for providing, or parents in general. I'm not sure who was really involved, for providing the meal to the staff last month. That was an awesome thing. So thank you, Ping parents, and for putting that together. My staff really appreciated it. I think it was well received, and I think it was one of those things that was great for the morale, because sometimes teachers need to remember that people are paying attention and care for them. So thank you again for providing those meals. Okay.
Our pleasure. That was really Jen that instigated that whole thing. Thank you, Jennifer.
No, it was a team effort. Absolutely a team effort. All Ping.
Yeah, good.
So that's all I have, Todd.
I think that's really exciting. I'll talk to Luke about this straight away, because this is like right down his alley. Both of those CTE programs are things that he's interested in. So
Good.
and I'm sure a lot of other parents will have that same conversation. So yeah, I'm excited what you're doing there. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions or for Dr. Fowler? Or? Okay, well, thanks everyone for being here today, and have a great month. We'll see you on the first Friday in April. We'll confirm that and let you know, but do you want to check that right now? See if that works.
I think that's a non-school day. I think that's April 2nd. Am I
Okay.
right?
I'm looking at my calendar right now.
I think that's the first day of spring break.
That is correct. It's a non-school day.
Okay,
Right.
so then should we do the 9th? Or is that not a school day either?
That's not a school day either. So it would be
Spring
the,
break.
Okay.
yeah, so the
during spring
16th
break,
would
right.
be our first opportunity unless you want to do it the week before.
16th would be good, I think. Okay, so I'll just update it now, and I'll send out a message to everyone letting them know it's not at a regular time. That'll be important.
Oh, one more thing, and maybe everybody can pass this along to your friends that have 8th graders. We have our Bonsall High School information night meeting for 8th graders coming into 9th grade on the 9th at 5 o'clock. That was sent out by, we had a meeting last week that was sent out by the middle school through their system, and we didn't have any parents show up at all. And I recognize that, you know, some people aren't comfortable coming to in person. So we have 2 in person, then we're going to have 1 on Zoom. So the first one that's in person is next Tuesday on the 9th. And that's for any 8th grader that's potentially, you know, coming over to the high school and wants more information about the school, about programs, getting started for, you know, the different sports, getting signed up, doing all that kind of stuff. They can get on that, and then we'll have a internet via Zoom version of that same meeting that will be on March 24th. So if you have any friends that are parents of 8th graders, please share those dates, and hopefully we'll get more takers than we did last week.
Great. I'll make sure that goes out in this message to the membership of Ping too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for all you're doing.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.